Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We spoke earlier today to Brian Skanderbeg, who is the CEO of GFG Resources, TSX-V gold explorer with assets in the US and also in Canada, up in Timmins. If you want to hear more about that conversation, our opinions and thoughts on the company too, go to cruxinvestor.com/club, where you can also find company reports, training courses, commentary from market experts from all around the world, also summaries from other interviews that we have done, and of course a thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas. And if you go there now, you'll get a 7-day free trial. And of course, we'd love your feedback and thoughts too. So don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments below. You can also look in the description for the topics that we covered off. Anything interesting in particular, click the number beside that topic, and that's called a timestamp, and I'll jump you through to that part of the interview. And if I could also ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the button on the corner of the screen. And of course, for more videos like this one, click the notification bell. Brian, how are you doing, sir?
Excellent. And yourself this morning?
Not bad. Good weekend. Lots of DIY. I'm a DIY king. I even attempted to change a tap in the kitchen. That didn't go so well, but everything else, picking up leaves, was good. What about you? What have you achieved?
Yeah, 3 kids. So, back to school. So, back to school shopping. And in the middle of that, making drill decisions. So Sunday morning, the email comes in. You're like, what are we doing with this hole? So, balancing kids and drill holes.
That's what I like. That's what I like. Yeah, ours went back this weekend as well.
Yeah.
I was very happy. Right. Well, let's talk about GFG Resources, because it's a news story to us and the viewers. So why don't you kick off? Give us a 1-minute overview of the business, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Yeah. Look, GFG Resources. We're a district scale explorer based in Saskatchewan, Canada. 2 main assets. One's in Timmins, and the other is in Wyoming, Rattlesnake Hills. So we've been around for about 3.5 years. We trade on the TSX. Great balance sheet, good backing, and active drill programs. So I think it's a pretty exciting story to share with your listeners.
Brilliant. Okay. I always kind of like to get into the business model with people, trying to understand the strategy that they're going to employ to deliver that plan. But why don't we kind of dismiss some of what you're looking at? Can we just talk about Rattlesnake very quickly and then sort of park that up? Because obviously you were focused on Pen Gold. So what's happening with Rattlesnake?
Yeah, Rattlesnake, look, it's a big alkaline gold district in Wyoming. There's about 100,000 meters of drilling in there, 2 deposits. Up until April, we've been in a partnership with Newcrest, funding us and taking it through, drilling some really deep holes, and I think had modest success, and they turned the project back to us. So our game plan right now is to look at alternatives for it. We're in dialogue with a number of parties. Our goal is to find an appropriate path forward for this asset, whether it's a partnership, joint venture, option structure. And the reality is, it's a great project. It's in a good jurisdiction. It's just too big for GFG. And with our balance sheet and the way we look at our share capital structure, it just doesn't make sense to go and raise 3, 4, 5 million US. So strategically, we focus on Timmins. We maintain leverage to the US asset, and I hope to have more to talk to the market about in the coming month in terms of how we're taking that asset forward. Okay, so again, just a couple more questions on it. So it's too big for you, but it's too small for Newcrest, so you've got to find someone in the middle that wants to move this forward. Have you inherited the data which Newcrest uncovered or came up with during that period? Yeah, we have everything. I mean, we operated the project. So we put the plans together, technical team worked with Newcrest. So all the data is there. The challenge you have is when you're looking a kilometer deep, you're looking at a block cave style system. Newcrest has big size thresholds, and they need 5, 10, 20 million ounces for it to be relevant. They're not interested in looking at a 1 million ounce oxide style system, which I think you can see a path forward towards a Rattlesnake. That's not what they're looking for. Great relationship, good team with them. And I personally wasn't that surprised to see them turn it back. I was actually quite satisfied with our results. Obviously, I would have sooner seen a big discovery of 200 meters at 3 grams, but that's not what we get with Newcrest. But I think there's very good scope for, 0.7, 0.6, 0.8 gram oxide heap leachable 1 million plus ounce style system. And the game plan is to de-risk this via finding a partnership for it. So if we looked at, mid-tiers, junior producers that want exposures in the US, this is our game plan for that asset. It's It's a sizable district. It has great analogies, and there's lots of good drills on that project. So I think there's good value and there's good leverage in that asset for GFG shareholders.
So what else is sitting around that? Because it sounds like something that needs to be pieced together with another asset or two. Is the reality of those sorts of grades.
The best geological analogy is actually the Wharf mine. So both of those are 40-45 million year old Eocene alkaline systems and districts. Cripple Creek sits south, so Anglo Gold option, you sold that off to Newmont. Colorado, also a similar alkaline gold district. So those are the best kind of deposit analogies. Lots of stuff going on in Idaho, great jurisdiction. Wyoming per se isn't a gold belt, like lots of coal, bentonite, and oil and gas. I wouldn't say there's any other gold projects that we're really pushing in Wyoming, but this thing is quite unique from the state side. So I think there's good comparables if you look at modest-sized heap leaches in Nevada and Idaho for good direct analogies to Rattlesnake Hills.
Okay, I guess more of that to come. Look at a 35 million market cap. Would you say it's fair to say that Rattlesnake's getting no value attributed to it?
Well, I don't think no is probably a fair comment. I mean, if you look at our chart, there was a sharp upswing in December and a sharp cliff. And that was predicated on drilling in Rattlesnake and Newcrest. So you can see it definitely attracted people. I think people will own us for that. They also sold us for when the results are mediocre. I guess I'd probably say I'm comfortable with maybe a third of our valuation allocated to Rattlesnake and 2/3 to it. Quite modest. Our book value on the assets is around 10 million in the U.S. assets. So I think we're definitely more levered to success in Timmins, and most of our shareholders will be focused there. But I wouldn't say no, nothing's allocated to it.
Okay. So you've raised about nearly $6 million back in May. You've got a plan.
Yep.
What's the plan?
Drill.
Drill. That's always a good one.
Ultimately, our shareholders, may well have wanted us to keep drilling. And the key really turnaround event for GFG back in April was announcing a very high-grade discovery at Nib. 71 grams over 8.5 meters, so greater than 500 gram meter product. And obviously, you can look and see why that would be attractive. So we financed on the back of that. We had a lot of good interest from shareholders, and we brought Alamos in. So we definitely have a good credibility stamp. We've got money in the bank, and we took the summer to understand that discovery, but also do a lot more field work in the program. And now we've kicked off drilling about a week ago. So we anticipate drilling through to the end of the year. We're financed to do it. And drill is essentially saying, it's time for the market to pay attention. This company is actually doing so.
Okay. Yes, it is. But the thing that I was drawn to, first of all, was you kind of gathered a team of quite big hitters. All the big boys are in town here. That's what I was drawn to first. You've got a whole bunch of mine builders. You've got, people who've created huge amounts of value there. So why gather such a big team on such a small project? That's what I'm really getting at, where the plan. I get the drilling bit because that's where you're going to spend the money, but what's the plan? Is there a business plan? What are you trying to build here?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at I guess, the history of a number of the people involved in this company, most of us go back to Claude Resources, and I was the CEO of Claude. I played a number of roles with Claude, initially as their Exflow manager and VPX. We were good and lucky enough to find Santoy Gap, and that really transformed the company, and we put that into production. We essentially turned ourselves into a very, very strongly free cash flowing company, and were acquired by SSR in what I think is one of the best transactions to hold out there as a win-win for shareholders. So chairman of GFG is Patrick Downey. He was on our board with Claude, and he's also built and sold 3 or 4 different companies. Brian Booth was my chairman at Claude, and he's also on the board with us. Now, Brian's quite relevant because he founded Lakeshore Gold, which became Timmins West Mine, which was sold to Tahoe, sold to Pan American. So Brian, I believe, and I give him credit for making one of the most relevant discoveries in the Timmins Belt in the last 20 years, and he's on our board. Steve DeYoung founded Integra 1 and 2, so great pedigree. He runs Verify now, an online digital 3D platform for marketing. A really cutting-edge guy that is now involved with Integra 2 as well. So great guys. And Arnold Klassen, Look, he's a great guy. He was on our board with Claude, but he's also the audit chair at Kirkland Lake. I mean, he's got great pedigree, 40 years of VP finance with Dynatech. And so these guys are all solid. Built mines, operated them, transacted, raised capital. So we're not afraid of taking something into production at all. Good team that's done it before.
Right. So you've all got experience of making shareholders money, building businesses, building mines. Perfect. So what did you learn there? Or what is it from that experience that you're trying to replicate here, or is it an entirely new experience for you?
Well, belt scale opportunity, and I'm always looking for that as an exploration and operator. And talking about strategy, it starts with belt scale opportunity, and then what's your exit, what's your path, and ultimately, why did you select the area you selected? So if you look back at Claude, we had a whole belt, and I think it was poorly understood geologically. And we stepped off 15 kilometers and made a relevant discovery, and that's now 2-3 million ounces. And SSR is doing great on it. So we went to Timmins knowing this is one of the highest endowment pieces of crust in the world. It is the home of all the majors, or a number of them, IAMGOLD and Newmont and Kirkland Lake and Pan American, and look, guys all around us. So it's elephant country, simply said. And we put this large belt together, believing that any relevant discovery there will be acquired. And there are so many mills in this belt that are all truckable distance to us. And that's ultimately the second reason we went there. The first was we believe there's gold to be found. And it hasn't been found historically because of the approach and the philosophy and the lack of consolidation. And then finding something, we think there's a good direct path to being acquired. And that when you look at IAMGOLD and Cote deposit, they're building a 35,000 ton a day mill that truly is within 5 kilometers of our property. Now it's triple the size of the Newmont mill. So what does that mean for the camp? I mean, it's a huge $1 billion investment. And just this weekend, you had the Prime Minister, the Premier of Ontario, shoveling dirt in a mine in Northern Ontario. And that is a great sign for a belt. And ultimately, we recognized that 3 years ago. And that's why we went to Timmins. So to me, what did we learn with Claude? Belt scale opportunity, thinking differently, recognizing the opportunity. And that's why we went to Timmins to piece this belt of ground together. We've been working on it now for 3 years. It doesn't happen quickly. I mean, I was with Claude for 10 years. Santoy Gap was the third time drilling that target. And it was the best target, but we didn't find it until the third drill phase on it. And that's why when you look at our results, I think in Timmins, they're quite compelling because we've had very relevant discoveries, shallow, early stage already.
Okay, so how much longer do we have to wait to see some movements? Like say, it's been a tricky year for everyone, I guess, and it's been a very tricky 3 years for you guys. So, you've had it for you've been there three and a half years. Yep. Huge rise and then huge, fall from grace, as it were, where nothing's really been happening. But in this gold environment, you've raised some cash, a big chunk of change. Do you think you're going to be able to change the fortunes of this company with that money?
Yeah, $6 million was a good raise, and our balance sheet's strong. Ultimately, it gives us financing through to Q2, Q3 of 2021. So there's good runway, and you need that. You don't need overhang on your stock knowing that your next dollar's got to come in with your next drill hole. And I feel pretty confident that we're going to go out there and have good results on this belt, not just at NIB, but when you look at the allocation to the targets that we're doing, we have 5 or 6 targets spread across this belt. Some of those earlier stage, some of them HGM of economic hits, and some of them like NIB, brand new discovery. So there's a good spectrum of targets we're testing. We're adequately financed through to next year. So I'm pretty optimistic we'll put some good results out. And it is about timing. So with the rig turning now and maybe a month turnaround time to get a reasonable batch of holes back, we're into early October before we're probably talking assays to market.
Right. And what do you think you need to see coming back from the drill results from these assays to get the market excited? Because there's a lot of small stories. You're down there with a significant number of people in the same boat as you, saying the same things. So what's going to stand out? Scale,
gram meter products, right? I mean, you can see those that have moved. You can look at AMIXs. They start showing scale. And then, so I'd love to see us demonstrate continuity at NIB which is our discovery. I'd love to see us announce relevant discovery or follow-ups at some of our other targets, which I think are quite credible and have a good potential to yield results. To me, what's a relevant hit? 50 gram meter product, 10 grams over 5 meters, something like that. That's what I'm looking for to be relevant. Obviously, if you get to 100 or 200 or 500, you're going to get a lot more credibility for it. So that's what I'd like to see come out of those targets. Yeah.
So why only now? Why raise money now? What have you been doing for the rest of the 3.5 years? I mean, how much have you spent to date?
Right now, we would have six in the bank, about $6.5 million in the bank right now. So the last financing, we peaked at around 7.8 million. That would have been sort of the April-May timeframe. We executed the summer program. We started drilling now, so now we sit with 6.5. We'll end the year with 3.5 million cash in the bank, and our G&A is about $1 million a year. So, I don't see a need to raise more capital right now. That being said, if we want to really ratchet up the meterage on this project, and that's really what I think would move the needle for the market, to say, okay, GFG comes out, we're going to drill 50,000 meters instead of 10 or 15. And that's really what the market wants to see. So, we're going to execute this program. We're going to see what the results look like. And I hope we're coming back to the market and say, we're going to raise another 10 million, $5 million, and we're going to double or triple the program. That's what I think the really market wants to see.
I think it is. But why not do that now?
And ultimately, when you look at targets and how you allocate capital, you need to see the ability to really throw 2, 3, 4 rigs at it. And at this stage, I think we need to show continuity and scale. And when you have demonstrated that, I think is the point you step back and say, we're really stepping up the rig count here. So I think it's a little premature for us to step out and do that. But I think with the results that we're expecting in this, we would like to see us ratchet up the program. And you can see it in terms of how something like AMEX or Great Bear has escalated their program. First phase, test your targets, show the results, show the scale, raise some capital, and then expand it.
I mean, you guys are really quite well connected, and you've got a track record of delivering things. I mean, what's the kind of arbitrage here? When you're sitting talking to the board, you go, well, look, we can build mines. We've done it before. We can do it again. Versus, if this asset doesn't come up to scratch, at what point do you make the decision to say, look, it's just not delivering. We need to move on to the next thing. Sell. Would you keep flogging a dead horse? I mean, how does it work in the boardroom?
Yeah, look, our board members are really, they're savvy. They've been in the space for a long time. They ask good questions. Take a guy like Patty, he's been through assets that haven't made the cut. And he said, okay, time to cut our losses, time to move on, time to reallocate, whatever your choice is. So, I think the board's very supportive with our endeavors in Timmins right now. They're all connected to that belt and know it well and have had good success and track record there. So nobody in this company or at the boardroom is saying that at all. I think they're all excited by the results we put out at NIB. They're excited by the targets. And in reality, sometimes the market's expectations wants real high-grade results instantly. When you put a belt together of 60-kilometer scale, and if you want to do thorough regional work, you need a year, you need 18 months to do the groundwork, prep time, thinking, analysis, to go out and build proper targets. Then you go and test them once, okay? And that's what we did at NIB. And you have a high-grade discovery, then you come back to it. And that's really where we are. So I don't think the board at all is looking for us thinking we're putting too much time into this asset. I think they're all pretty excited with where we are.
I was going to say the word district scale is bandied around. It's like everyone. Well, a lot of people use it and they misuse it as well. What do you mean by that, and why do you think you can do it with a budget as small as you've got? I mean, because it's going to take. It's a liability in a way. Because you've got a lot of work to do to actually prove up that statement, district-wide scale.
It's an opportunity and a challenge, right? So, if you want to put and have real value to unlock and at an earlier stage, there's a lot of uncertainty in the exploration game. And if you can put your finger on a large belt and tie it all up, that gives you a good probability of success. So what we've done in Timmins is say, here's a big belt of rocks that there should be 1 or 2 mines in. And we control that whole belt. And that was the thesis going in there. You can look at us now and say they have 6 targets they're going to go drill. Where's the focus? Why aren't they just drilling that one target? Why look and study discovery probability, and it is what is constantly in our brain. How do you allocate capital to which stated target? And that's the real niche of returning shareholder value. Do you put 5 holes into a target? Do you put 2? And that's what many geologists are constantly weighing. The district scale opportunities a challenge. You have to constantly build your pyramid. You have to have, good thresholds for what you think warrant drill ready, drill target, second phase follow-up. So I'm comfortable with where we are on the district scale. Many companies and individuals misuse the term, but 700 square kilometers is truly a district. And it is an exceptionally large land position. And then it goes back to what's our exploration philosophy? How do we approach that belt? How are we finding something groups haven't found before? So we built the framework. We did all the regional geophysics. We sampled all the till. And then we said, what did people miss? And lo and behold, 2 or 3 areas jumped out, really high threshold gold and till anomalies that were not the focus of historic working. So it has, your exploration philosophy has to go in tandem with the district scale approach. I think that's something GFG does well.
Okay, well, here's my problem. We interview a lot of companies, okay, and we've interviewed a number of companies talk about district-wide scale, and they've been at it 10, 15 years in some instances, and they've been plowing through the cash because they're just trying to work out the extent of the scale. The market loses patience. They get bored of the story. They're just tired. They need to move on to the next new shiny object down the road. You've got a current bull environment, which is obviously very pro-gold. Seems quite easy to raise money. I'm looking at your board. I think it'd be very easy to raise money. Don't you feel tempted, despite the philosophy you just outlined to me, go get a big chunk of change, go and prove up some quick wins, and concurrently develop this district-wide thesis of yours, because that takes time and money.
Yeah, no, and it is the pace of exploration is what you're really talking about, and the capital availability to drive it. So I think what we've set about here is a good balance sheet, good approach. To go raise another 5 million, 6 million, 7 million. The market is supportive of stories these days. The gold at 20, pushing back up to record highs again today. And I think that there is merit for that. That being said, maintaining some discipline, ensuring you're looking at your targets and saying, does this target warrant 2 rigs on it yet? No, yes, okay. And make that decision and go forward. And so that's what we're sticking to. I'd love to come back to the market and say, you know what, we're going to expand this to 2 or 3 rigs this fall. And I look forward to having that, but we're not at that stage yet. We're executing this program. And I firmly believe our shareholders and supporters too. Like you look at Alamos, big Swiss institutional shareholders, the Lundin family owns a bunch of us. So our shareholders have backed us really well over time. And I think they're very happy with our progress. And the disciplined approach is interesting because, that's why groups like Alamos back us. That's why when we talk to mid-tiers, they're like, why don't you come do our exploration? You guys do it really well. And we get that feedback from groups that are running billion-dollar companies. And so we take that as to, I guess, a compliment in how we're executing our strategy.
But it's also with big groups like that who've got a lot of money, they place a lot of bets, and they expect some of those bets not to kind of work out, but the ones that do will more than make up for it. So, and they've got to have a balanced approach to their thesis. They're going to want some companies to run, some to walk, and others to maybe bide their time. You're saying there's a kind of slow, considered, thoughtful process that you've engaged. And everyone's happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think they're happy we're drilling now, back again. I think when you looked at our pace and the rationale to take a break this summer for 2 or 3 months, that was justified, and that's why we're pushing where we are. We have good relationships with the corporates, and Alamos is a great example. They do take a bit of a basket approach, proximal to their spoken hub philosophy of the districts they work in and the infrastructure they control. They're a very, very logical partner for us. I can tell you they're very engaged. And I can also tell you there's lots of other companies that work in the belt that follow very closely with what we do, and definitely notice the belt we control and the results we're having.
Okay, so when do people get excited? You talked about a 10-year process at Claude. What's happening here? What's the plan?
Yeah, look, I want to come back to market with 3 or 4 press releases before Christmas.
Right.
And that's what I'd like to see. We're going to drill 30 to 40 holes in the current program. Then we're going to evaluate what we have, and we'll launch again in Q1 for 2021. So I think there's a good number of catalysts coming through the second half of the year. I think 10 years is not something any shareholder wants, and you could probably agree that. I would even say that 10 years at Claude was a painful time. It was two good years and 8 tough years, and many stories are like that. And the resilience to battle through that. And today, Claude shareholders would be worth about $5.50 or $6 a share, and not the 10 cents that we bought them at. So despite the fact some stories take a long time to develop, I think there's good value to be unlocked. I'd like to see GFG expand this program moving to fall, have an even more aggressive program next year, and really start moving this things towards relevant scale and size demonstration and resources. You can look at some good examples of companies that have had good track records in the Abitibi. Go look at Amex, go look at Rattlesnake. You can go look at some of the guys in Timmins too that have had a good track record of attracting value. So I think relevant discoveries in this belt get noticed. So.
Okay, Brian, nice run through. I got a sense of what you're trying to build here. You've just got to go do some drilling. Come back and tell us all about it, because I think that's that's the difference here. If you continue to hit those high grades, the market will react. If you don't,
look, there was a good number thrown out the other day, and it talked about the 50 gram meter product. And if you come back, what is a relevant discovery when you should give up on a target? So if you've done 2 phases of drilling, if you haven't had a 50 gram meter product discovery, you're probably putting too much money into it. Okay, so you can go look at what GFG's put out. We put out 2 or 3 like that on different targets. And so I think the pace is really good. I'm excited to get back out there and allocate meterage into areas we found really high grade discoveries so far. So yeah, I mean, it's the rig is turning, and we're excited to get back some results to the market. So yeah.
Good man. Pick up the phone, give us a call when you do.
Awesome. Thanks very much for your time today, Matt.